Welcome to the broadcast and live stream of Moonshot Radio. Moonshot Radio is generously sponsored by the PNC Grow Up Great program. And here's your host, Dr. Nivea Torres.
Greetings and welcome to Moonshot Radio, where every moment is an opportunity to learn. I'm your host, Nivea Torres, Executive Director of the Kindergarten Readiness Collaborative, also known as KRC. Our vision is that all children in Indian River County will be ready for kindergarten. We proudly partner with the Moonshot Moment, who is transforming the next generation in Indian River County by having 90% of all students reading on grade level by the third grade. With me today in the studio is Karin Hammler from the School District of Indian River County. Welcome, Karin.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Very excited to have you today to talk about one of our favorite topics, reading.
Yes.
Karin, tell me a little bit about your position at the School District of Indian River County.
Currently, I serve as the literacy specialist, K through 5, but I've been in the district a long time. So when I started here 29 long years ago, I taught first grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and college. And so currently I am in the position where I am serving all schools.
And you were sharing right before we got on air that you enjoyed your experience as a teacher. I was telling you that I was also a former high school teacher, not elementary. And it is so rewarding to be a teacher and now to be able to serve all students.
Absolutely. I think the characteristics of a teacher is that you have every position under the sun under your belt. You are a lawyer, you are a doctor, you're a philosopher, you are a therapist, you are a teacher. And I think that's what it encompasses, all those areas.
And as the literacy coordinator K to 5, what does that entail? Do you work very closely with all the schools, the principals, Karin?
All the above. I have the opportunity to work with the principals, the assistant principals, the literacy coaches, as well as they are on the front line serving our teachers and our students. I also have an opportunity to get back in the classroom, which I love, so that I can get my hands dirty and model for teachers and coaches.
Oh, that is excellent. I love model lessons, being able to share with other folks just different techniques and strategies for how to make the lessons more exciting, right?
Exactly. And I think explaining to someone how yummy an ice cream sundae is one thing, but taking them and having them see it and feel it and taste it is something totally different.
Well, you clearly have a lot of passion and excitement for reading. Does that go back to your childhood, Karin? We often like to ask our guests about any favorite storybook character that you can recall from your childhood.
Well, I don't know if I have a particular storybook character that I like from my childhood. My mother, English was a second language in our home. So that my mother didn't read to me, but she made my sister, who was 10 years older than myself, read to me daily. But a book that resonates with me now as an educator is Scaredy Squirrel. And that's written by Melanie Watts. And I love the book because Scaredy Squirrel typifies everyone, children and adults alike. So he's terrified of everything. So he never leaves his nut tree. He will wake up, get a nut, look out his tree, eat a nut, go to sleep. He makes everything a little bit more tenuous than it should be, not unlike myself. So he's so nervous. So one day he decides, I'm going to leave my nut tree. This is it. And when he is chased by a bee, and he is terrified of bees. And it turns out he's a flying squirrel. So all the time he had never left his nut tree, and yet he had this capability. So the book about hidden talents and fears obviously speaks to me.
I love that. Talk about hidden potential.
Yes, Scaredy Squirrel. And he has several books, not he himself, but Melanie Watts, because she herself suffered from those kind of things. You know, someone asks you to try something new, you're like, no, that's okay, because you're afraid of failing. And that was Scaredy Squirrel.
And aren't those the connections that we're trying to make with children through books, through reading, Karin? Those powerful connections where you can either see yourself through that character, through the story, you can relate with your own world experiences.
Absolutely. Reading is how we interact with the world, whether it be street signs, applications I have to fill out, and books. I can see myself in a book. I can reflect on myself that way. So reading is really the cornerstone to our existence, to humans. We interact with it. We interact with the text. We make meaning for ourselves.
I love how you say it's the connection to the world, Karin, and that's really one of the messages that we want to get through Moonshot Radio so that people understand this is why it's so important. And that's one of the questions I had for you. You know, we always talk about reading and awareness. Why is it so important to talk about reading? Just because of what you said, it is the connection to the world, but does everybody really see that importance, and how can we help them if they don't?
I think just by bringing awareness and keeping the conversation going, once you bring awareness to something, people are more aware of it. Coming from a home where English wasn't the main language, and knowing how hard my parents were striving to, number one, have me speak English without an accent and have my sister read to me, and literacy was so important to them. But, you know, it had the adverse effect. I hated reading. I was like, stop reading to me. I've had enough of this, because it was so important to them. So when you talk about older students and how do we appeal to them for reading, because that's what happened. I hated reading. My mother loved it, because when you acquire language, first you would read and listen, and then you want to speak it. You know, that's a little scary. So she pandered to things I loved. And even if it were those Harlequin novels, she would buy them for me. And even if it was a glamour magazine, reading is reading. We make meaning for ourselves and where we fit in the world by what we read.
I'm so glad you said that, because I wanted to talk to you about that. We spend a lot of time here on Moonshot Radio talking about the importance of talking to your baby and reading to your baby. But I also wanted today to really talk to you about the older students. And I'm glad you shared your own personal experience. Sometimes there are people who think they're older, it's too late, they don't appreciate reading. And that's not necessarily true. And you said, you know, you really need to find out what they like, what is of interest to them, and then really hook them with that.
Absolutely. And I should be the poster child for that, because I did not like reading because everyone was forcing it on me in the house. But that's what you have to do, pander to what they like. And even though we are all interacting with technology, that's reading. So embracing that. Okay, how can we maybe download a book on their iPad? Pander to things that they like, as opposed to forcing them to read something you know they haven't connected with. Maybe it's parkour. Then you can read it together, you know, and then have a discussion afterwards. I think that connection, that personal connection, one-on-one time is going to be the bridge that makes them love reading.
You know, for a while, Karin, there were some folks who were dismissive, for example, about comic books or magazines. And you and I know that now comic books are very attractive, and they're even classics that have been abridged and created in a comic book-like version. Just to do that, like you say, to pander and to cater to readers who might not be as, you know, interested overall in reading as others. We need to make it attractive to them.
And that, I think, a comic book could be a perfect bridge. If I see a chapter book and I am already reticent to read, I don't want to pick up a 12-chapter book. But maybe if my mom gets me a comic book and I'm interested, that could be the bridge that leads to something else, as if the gateway reading, if you will.
And you have a lot of experience also with reading, aside from your classroom and teaching experience and now being a coach and supporting schools. But you're a published author. You're a published author, and I want to talk a little bit about that, because you have a character named Chef Nutmeg. Tell me a little bit about how that idea surfaced.
Well, I know you're probably hoping that it's some kind of wonderful literary story, but we were at Universal Studios, my husband and myself, and it was probably 3,000 degrees. And I went into the gift shop, and at that juncture, I was a coach at Treasure Coast Elementary. And you always want to hook your teachers and your students. So I went in there, and there was a whole wall, chef hats and spatulas and aprons. And in my overheated haze, I thought, why not a chef helping them write and read? And so $250 later, Chef Nutmeg was born.
Is that because you bought all the utensils and the things you needed for the outfit?
I did, Karin? Because I thought, I'm never going to see it like this again. So yes, I did.
And I have a copy here. You were gracious enough to bring a copy of Nuttin' to It.
Yes.
Nuttin' to It, which is the story of Chef Nutmeg. So I just think it's adorable. It's precious, and I would encourage people to read a little bit more about that. Do you think there will be more adventures of Chef Nutmeg, or was this the sole iteration?
No, there are 2 more in the planning stages. I already have the covers for the other 2. So, Chef Nutmeg, she is just cooking up good stories, and she just wants to bring fun back to the classroom. So I think it's everything I experienced from my first grade rears its ugly head in the book.
And for our viewers and our listeners who might be interested in purchasing Nuttin' to It and learning more about Chef Nutmeg, is there a particular age group that you would recommend this book for, Karin?
If you were going to do it as a read aloud, I would think, second grade would be a place you could read aloud. But I picture it 3rd grade, maybe through 6th grade would be appropriate for them to read on their own. It's filled with very rich vocabulary, and there is a glossary at the end. And I made up a couple of words like schlumpadinka, which I just love. And I'm not going to even tell you what that means, because if you want to know, you'll have to read
the book. Yes. You have to read the book to find out more. Thank you, Karin. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
At the Kindergarten Readiness Collaborative, our vision is for every parent, regardless of income or zip code, to have the knowledge and tools they need to raise healthy children that are prepared for kindergarten. Our mission is to support our partners in developing a high-quality early childhood system that is family-centered. Our outreach and parent engagement specialists connect with families and build trusted relationships. KRC has chosen Fellsmere and Gifford as our 2 focus areas in Indian River County. Our Fellsmere office is located downtown in the city annex, and our new Gifford office is located within Victory Park Apartments. Our administrative offices are now located adjacent to Healthy Start and Treasure Coast Community Health in Vero Beach. The Kindergarten Readiness Collaborative, developing a high-quality early childhood system for all children in Indian River County.
Everyday activities are great for finding moments for talking and teaching new words. Babies' brains grow 80% in the first 18 months of life. As parents and your baby's first teacher, you can help build their brain with language and literacy skills. Involve the whole family. Ask questions. The more words babies hear, the larger their vocabulary can grow. Support early childhood education by talking, reading, singing, and family engagement. This message has been brought to you by PNC Grow Up Great and the Florida Grade Level Reading Campaign.
Compassion and simplicity. Millennium Cremation Service, with offices in Sebastian and Vero, strives to help you with the planning and help you know your loved one is close by and cared for. Millennium is the wave of the future for final arrangements with a state-of-the-art facility. For a simple cremation, it costs just $795, which includes services of director and transfer to crematory. Millennium Cremation Service, locally owned and operated. Millennium Cremation Service, 999-5547. MillenniumCremationService.com.
Take a new direction with your pest control needs. Call Compass Pest Control. Hi, I'm Chris Hudman, co-owner of Compass Pest Control. We're not your ordinary pest control company. We have over 60 years of local experience. We know service after the sale is the most important part of our business. Call us at 925-1740. That's 772-925-1740, or on the web at compasspests.com. That's compass, PESTS.com.
If you operate a small business, you need services like payroll, tax compliance, HR tools, and other resources. You need Complete Employee Solutions. Vero Beach has a team of professionals, including Anthony Sammons, Matt McCain, and Jennifer Comer, who saw the need for competent payroll, HR, and employee leasing services. Call Complete Employee Solutions at 772-978-7277 or visit their website at CompleteEmployeeSolutions.com.
Hometown News is a group of 15 award-winning community newspapers that serve the communities of eastern Florida, from Volusia County south to Martin County. Their mission is to be the best local news and information provider in the communities. They distribute more than 200,000 copies each week to subscribers, area racks, and other bulk drop locations. Get local information on your friends and neighbors in the Indian River and St. Lucie editions. Stay in the know. Look for your free edition of the Hometown News today.
We're back to Moonshot Radio, where every moment is an opportunity to learn. I'm your host, Nivea Torres, Executive Director of KARC, and with me today is Karin Hammler from the School District of Indian River County. Welcome back, Karin.
Thank you.
We're talking about all things reading. And just to remind folks, you are in charge of K-5 literacy for the School District of Indian River County.
Absolutely.
Work very closely with all the schools and the families.
All the schools, all the teachers, and the children. I'm very blessed.
Great. Now, before the break, you were sharing with us that you're also a published author. Your book is called Nuttin' to It.
Nuttin' to it, because it's nothing to it. Nothing like Scaredy Squirrel. She believes everything is possible.
And you are the author, so our viewers and our listeners who are interested in that, again, the title is Nuttin' to It by Karin Hammler. Karin, let's talk a little bit about Thank You, Amu. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So Thank You, Amu is an initiative that we are very pleased to partake in again. It is Read for the Record. They have been doing this for 14 years. And so they choose a book each year that on a certain date, schools across the globe will be sharing the book. Obviously not at the same time, but from about K through 2. And this year's selection is Thank You, Amu.
And so this is worldwide. We're encouraging all the schools K to 2 to engage in the reading of this text.
Absolutely. Interacting and making connections with this text. And if you don't happen to have a book, that's okay. Because if you go on YouTube, many people have already read it and taped themselves reading it. So if you want to go back, or we have piqued your interest, you can go and view the book being read.
So how is the School District of Indian River County, and I know you're also very closely connected to the Moonshot Moment, how is that going to take place here, that National Reading Day?
So the Learning Alliance graciously purchased books for each school, and via the Media Center, all children will be exposed to the book Thank You, Amu, and do various activities. If you go to the website for Read for the Record, there are so many activities they can do, but nothing stifles the creativity. So our Media Center specialists are just so creative and are thinking of all wonderful things to engage our students in Thank You, Amu.
Now, Read for the Record, the title, does that actually mean that our goal is to establish some kind of worldwide record by getting a number of people to read the book?
Absolutely. So schools are encouraged to register, and then how many students are in the school, because they are tabulating, because each year they want to outdo themselves so that the entire globe is involved in reading for the record.
Is this the first year that the school district is involved, or have you done this before?
No, this is our third. This is our third year doing this.
Oh, excellent. So can we hear a little bit from the book, Karin?
Only a very little bit,
just
because
a little bit.
I don't want anybody not to go get this book themselves. And by the way, if you go to the website, Read for the Record, you could order a book if our local bookstore doesn't have it.
Okay.
So this is Thank You, Amu. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. See, even she loves reading. Oh. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious, sweet, wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Amu explained. What brings you to my home? Was it that scent? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell. The little boy replied, What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. And I'm going to have to leave you hanging with that as to what happens next.
Well, that is very interesting because there are a lot of things that we could possibly predict about the little boy and the stew and Amu, and because it's dinner time, right?
Absolutely.
And she's clearly hungry. He's hungry. What will happen? We don't know.
I'm thinking, why is the stew red? That would go through my mind. Why is the stew red? But
that's very unique. Yes,
exactly.
That is a good thought. Like, why is the stew red? Thank you for sharing a little bit with us. And again, for our viewers and our listeners, it's Thank You, Amu. And the author, Karin, of that book is
Oj Mora. And you spell the last name O-M-O-R-A. So if you want to look up, but easily just go to Read for the Record.
Read for the Record.
And everything about the book and the author will be there.
Excellent. We want to talk briefly about any other reading initiatives in the district, anything that you want to share with us, Karin, or just overall any reading tips for parents. We've talked about engaging those older students, but anything that you want to share with us.
So for district initiatives, are the one that is coming up most recent will be November 7th, Read for the Record.
Read for the Record.
In January, we have Literacy Week, but anytime you could go to our website and check it out and see what initiatives we may have that sometimes they just crop up. But, you know, when you talk about tips for readers, no child is too old to be read to have a conversation over a book, to think and engage in, cooking, you know, I love that, but reading a recipe is reading. Reading a recipe, a magazine, a comic book. Everything we interact with in the world engages us in reading. It is the conversation that follows that helps us make meaning of the world.
Karin, that's so nicely said. And I'm so glad you used, for example, reading a recipe. We're thinking about the holidays now.
Absolutely.
What a great opportunity for families to come together around a recipe, around a story like Thank You, Amu, you know, or your favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe, and just reading the ingredients, measuring the ingredients. We are connecting with the world and we're learning more. So what a great example to share with us,
And
Karin.
don't forget about shopping for the ingredients.
Yes.
And reading the labels. There is so much that is involved in a simple recipe.
Absolutely. Karin, you must come back to share more with us. Thank you for what you do for the school district and for all of the families in Indian River County. I will be reading Nuttin' to It tonight.
I can't wait to hear what you think.
Thank you for joining us, Karin.
Thank you for having me.
And until next time, this has been Moonshot Radio, where every moment is an opportunity to learn.